The Anxious Attachment Recovery Workbook, practical exercises to heal attachment wounds, calm your nervous system, build secure bonds, and stop people pleasing. Introduction. Chapter 1, Attachment Theory, the Science of Why We Cling. Chapter 2, Why Do We Fear Being Alone? Chapter 3, Healing the Inner Child, a Journey Back to Self. Chapter 4, Mastering the Art of Nervous System Regulation. Chapter 5, Trauma, the Unseen Architect of Anxiety. Chapter 6, Why Do I Always Attract Avoidant Partners? Chapter 7, 7 Pillars of Secure Self-Esteem. Chapter 8, People-Pleasing, the High Cost of Being Nice. Chapter 9, Establishing Boundaries Without the Guilt. Chapter 10, The Journey from Protest to Peace. Chapter 11, Strengthening the Internal Anchor. Chapter 12, Why Do We Overthink Every Interaction? Chapter 13, Internal Working Models, Rewriting the Script. Chapter 14, 5 Secrets of Effective Communication. Chapter 15, The Shackleton Method, Building Resilience in Relationships. Chapter 16, Dating with a Secure Mindset. Chapter 17, Can Two Anxious People Find Peace? Chapter 18, The Secure Base, Building Lasting Bonds. Chapter 19, 10 Exercises for a Calm Heart. Chapter 20, The Roosevelt Legacy, Living Securely in an Insecure World. Conclusion. The Anxious Attachment Recovery Workbook, practical exercises to heal attachment wounds, calm your nervous system, build secure bonds, and stop people pleasing. By Sophie Marston. Introduction. Man cannot live by chocolate malted milks alone. In 1958, Harry Harlow stood in a lab at the University of Wisconsin and watched a tiny rhesus monkey make a choice that would change psychology forever. The room was quiet, filled only with the soft sounds of the lab and the scratching of pens on paper. Behind a one-way mirror, Harlow and his team watched a baby monkey enter a cage with 2 mothers. One mother was made of cold, hard wire. It was ugly and stiff, but it held a bottle filled with warm milk. The other mother was made of soft, tan cloth. It had no food. It offered nothing to drink. It just stood there, warm and fuzzy. According to the experts of that time, the choice should have been simple. Scientists believed that babies only loved their mothers because they provided food. They thought love was just a side effect of a full stomach. But as the baby monkey entered the cage, it didn't run for the milk. Instead, it rushed to the cloth mother. It clung to the soft fabric with everything it had. It rubbed its face against the warmth. The monkey only left the cloth mother when it was starving. Even then, it would reach across to the wire mother to drink the milk, while keeping its back feet firmly planted on the soft cloth. It refused to let go of the comfort. When the researchers introduced a scary, mechanical toy into the cage, the monkey didn't run to the food. It ran to the cloth. It hid its face in the fabric until its heart rate slowed down. This experiment proved something that many of us feel deep in our bones, but often try to ignore. We need connection as much as we need air. We don't just want to be close to people, we are biologically wired to need it. Harlow called this contact comfort. Without it, we don't just feel lonely. We feel unsafe. The hunger for connection. If you are reading this, you probably know that feeling of reaching for the cloth mother and finding nothing but cold wire. You might know the sharp sting of a text message left on read for 3 hours. You might know the heavy weight in your chest when a partner seems a little bit distant, or the way your brain starts to spin 1,000 stories about why they might be pulling away. This isn't a flaw in your personality. It isn't because you are too much or too needy. It is because your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do millions of years ago. It is scanning for safety. For an infant, being alone didn't just mean being sad, it meant certain death. Our ancestors survived because they stayed close to the tribe. If they were separated, their internal smoke alarm went off. That alarm told them to cry, to reach out, and to do whatever it took to get back to safety. Today, that same smoke alarm is still inside you. But instead of alerting you to a predator in the woods, it goes off when you feel a shift in your relationship. It goes off when you think you might be abandoned. For someone with an anxious attachment style, that smoke alarm is very sensitive. It goes off at the slightest hint of smoke, even when there isn't a fire. You might spend your days trying to be perfect, so people won't leave. You might say yes to things you hate just to keep the peace. You might find yourself auditioning for love, constantly checking to see if you are still wanted. It is an exhausting way to live. It feels like being on an emotional roller coaster, where you didn't pick the speed or the turns. One minute you are high on the joy of a good interaction, and the next, you are crashing into a pit of worry because someone's tone of voice sounded a little bit off. The ghost in the machine. We live in a world that often makes this anxiety worse. In the 1940s, a man named René Spitz studied babies in orphanages. These babies had food, clean clothes, and beds. But they didn't have anyone to hold them or talk to them. Despite having all their physical needs met, many of these babies became very ill. Some even died. They called it hospitalism. It was a fancy word for a broken heart. They simply withered away without the contact comfort Harlow discovered. Today, we face a digital version of this. We have ghosting, where a person you care about simply vanishes from your digital life without a word. We have breadcrumbing, where someone gives you just enough attention to keep you interested, but never enough to make you feel secure. When you are ghosted, your brain doesn't just see it as a rude move. It sees it as a threat to your survival. Your nervous system goes into fight or flight mode. Your heart races. Your palms sweat. You might send 10 texts in a row, or you might sit in silence, feeling like you are disappearing. You aren't crazy for feeling this way. You are human. But while this seeking behavior was meant to keep you safe as a child, it often keeps you trapped as an adult. It leads you toward partners who are avoidant, people who pull away when things get close, which only makes your smoke alarm scream louder. It keeps you in a cycle of over-functioning, where you do all the work in a relationship just to make sure it doesn't fail. A night in Chicago. In a small, minimalist apartment in the West Loop of Chicago, Maya Vance is living this cycle. It is 11:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. Maya is 34 years old and very successful. She is a senior marketing manager for a tech company. If you looked at her resume, you would see a woman who has it all figured out. She is organized, she is empathetic, and she is the person everyone turns to when a project is falling apart. But right now, Maya doesn't feel like a leader. She is sitting on her sofa, her face lit by the blue light of her phone. She is looking at a chat window. The last message she sent was at 6 p.m. It was a simple question: "Hey, are we still on for dinner Thursday?" There is no reply. No 3 dots indicating that someone is typing. Just a blank space. Maya's chest feels tight. She has checked the app 42 times in the last 5 hours. She has gone back and reread her previous messages, looking for a mistake. Was I too forward? Did I sound desperate? Maybe I should have waited for him to text me first. She thinks about the guy, Mark. They have been on 3 dates. He is mysterious and busy, which Maya's brain has translated as valuable. The more he pulls away, the more she feels she needs to prove her worth to him. Maya is an expert at people-pleasing. At work she stays late to help colleagues, so they will think she is indispensable. With her mother she listens to hours of criticism over the phone without complaining, hoping that one day she will finally hear the words, "I'm proud of you." Maya's life is a series of performances. She is always scanning the room, always checking the vibe, always trying to anticipate what people need before they even ask. She believes that if she can just be perfect enough, no one will ever leave her. But the more she performs, the more tired she gets. And the more tired she gets, the louder the smoke alarm in her head becomes. Maya is a hyper-vigilant seeker. She is looking for a sign, any sign that she is okay. But that sign is currently tied to a text message that hasn't arrived. She is unanchored, floating on a sea of what-ifs, waiting for someone else to provide the weight that will keep her steady. The Promise of the Anchor. This book is about finding that weight within yourself. Right now, your sense of safety is probably like a hook. You are constantly trying to hook it onto other people. If they hold on, you feel great. If they let go, you fall. The goal of this journey is to move from having a hook to having an anchor. An anchor doesn't need someone else to hold it. It is heavy, solid, and rests on the floor of your own soul. When the storms of a relationship come, and they always will, an anchored person might feel the waves, but they don't get swept away. By the end of this workbook, the version of you that panics over a late text will have been replaced by a securely anchored individual. You will learn how to calm your own nervous system. You will understand why your body goes into panic mode and how to use your breath and your senses to turn off the false smoke alarm. Set firm boundaries. You will learn that no is a complete sentence and that people who truly care about you will respect your limits. Stop the people-pleasing trap. You will find your own voice and stop auditioning for love. Communicate clearly. You will be able to say what you need without feeling like a burden or sounding demanding. Choose better partners. You will learn to spot avoidant red flags early so you can stop attracting people who recreate your childhood wounds. This isn't about fixing yourself because you aren't broken. You are adapted. Your brain learned how to survive in an environment where love felt inconsistent or hard to get. Now we are simply going to teach your brain a new way to be safe. Why this works? The exercises in this book aren't just feel-good ideas. They are based on decades of research into how the human brain forms bonds. We will look at the work of John Bowlby, the British psychiatrist who realized that how we are treated as children creates an internal working model, a script we follow for the rest of our lives. We will explore the experiments of Mary Ainsworth, who discovered that the way a mother leaves and returns to a room can tell us exactly how a child will handle a breakup 20 years later. And we will follow the story of Eleanor Roosevelt, a woman who lost both of her parents by age 10 and grew up feeling plain and unloved, yet found a way to build a secure base within herself that changed the entire world. We will use a mix of history, science, and practical daily actions. You won't just read about attachment, you will practice it. You will learn to reparent the parts of you that are still waiting for that cloth mother. You will learn that you are capable of providing your own contact comfort. The journey ahead. The path from panic to peace is not a straight line. There will be days when you feel like Maya, staring at your phone and feeling the old tightness in your chest. That is okay. Growth isn't about never feeling anxious, it's about knowing what to do when the anxiety shows up. Here's a map of where we are going. The foundations. We will start by looking at the science. You will learn about the attachment spectrum and figure out exactly where you fall. We will look at the biobehavioral system and see how your body reacts to distance. The inner child. We will go back to the beginning. We will look at how your internal working model was built and start the process of rewriting the script. You will learn how to give yourself the sensitivity and responsiveness you might have missed out on. The body. We will focus on nervous system regulation. You will learn about the vagus nerve and how to move from a state of fight or flight to a state of safe and social. This is where you learn to fan the smoke when the alarm goes off. The patterns. We will deconstruct the anxious avoidant trap. You will see why you are drawn to the very people who trigger you and how to break that cycle. We will look at the high cost of being nice and how to escape the approval trap. The tools. We will build your secure base. You will learn the boundary formula and the secrets of effective communication. You will learn how to ask for what you need using nonviolent communication so you can be heard without being needy. The future. We will look at dating with a secure mindset and how to maintain long-term bonds. You will learn the Shackleton method for staying resilient when things get tough. As you move through these chapters, we will follow Maya. We will see her in her office, at coffee shops, and on dates. We will see her make mistakes, and we will see her find her strength. You will see your own story reflected in hers, and you will see that if Maya can find her anchor, so can you. Taking the first step. Right now, Maya is still sitting on her sofa in Chicago. She is still waiting. But she is about to make a choice. She is going to put her phone in the other room. She is going to take a deep breath. She is going to realize that her value does not live in a text message. It lives in her. You have already taken the first step just by opening this book. You have acknowledged that the old way of living isn't working anymore. You are ready to stop chasing and start anchoring. The journey to a secure heart begins with a single realization: you are allowed to have needs. You are allowed to be seen. You are allowed to be safe. The lab doors are open. The cloth mother is waiting. But this time, you are the one providing the warmth. Let's begin. Chapter 1: Attachment Theory, the Science of Why We Cling. Imagine two people, Sarah and Leo, sitting in their own living rooms on a Tuesday night. Both are waiting for a phone call from someone they just started dating. The clock on the wall ticks past 9 p.m. Then 10 p.m. The silence in both apartments is heavy, but the way Sarah and Leo experience that silence is worlds apart. Sarah is pacing. She has picked up her phone 37 times in the last hour. She checks her Wi-Fi to make sure her internet hasn't dropped. She opens the social media app to see if the person she is waiting for has liked anyone else's photo. Her chest feels tight, like a heavy stone is sitting on her lungs. She tells herself, they probably realized I'm boring. They've changed their mind about me. I shouldn't have been so excited. By 11 p.m. she is crying, convinced that she will be alone forever. Leo, a few blocks away, is also waiting. He notices the time and thinks, that's a bummer. I was looking forward to talking. He feels a small prick of disappointment, but he doesn't pace. He doesn't check his Wi-Fi. Instead, he picks up a book he's been meaning to finish. He assumes his date got busy at work or fell asleep on the couch. He thinks, I'll just check in tomorrow morning. He goes to sleep and rests soundly. Sarah and Leo are living the exact same reality, but their internal worlds are operating on different sets of rules. Sarah isn't crazy or too much, and Leo isn't better or stronger. The difference lies in a deep biological program running in the background of their brains. This program is called attachment, and for Sarah, the smoke alarm in her head is screaming that she is in danger. For Leo, the alarm is quiet. To understand why Sarah feels like her world is ending, while Leo feels like he just missed a phone call, we have to travel back to a time of great darkness and a man who refused to look away from it. The Doctor in the Blitz. In 1944, London was a city under fire. The sounds of sirens and falling bombs were a daily part of life. Amidst this chaos, a British psychiatrist named John Bowlby was working at the London Child Guidance Clinic. While most of the world was focused on the war between nations, Bowlby was focused on a different kind of war, the struggle inside the hearts of children. Bowlby was a serious man with a sharp mind, but he had a soft spot for the troublemakers. He began a study of 44 young people who had been caught stealing. In those days, most people believed that bad kids were simply born with a bad character. They thought these children lacked a moral compass or were just looking for a thrill. Bowlby didn't buy it. He suspected that the reason these children were taking things from the world was that something vital had been taken from them first. He spent months interviewing the children and their families. He looked at their history, their homes, and their earliest memories. He found a shocking pattern that changed the course of psychology forever. Out of the 44 thieves, a huge number of them had experienced a major separation from their mothers during their first few years of life. Some had been sent to hospitals where parents weren't allowed to visit. Others had lost parents to the war or illness. Bowlby realized that these children weren't just naughty. They were suffering from a deep, invisible wound. He called it maternal deprivation. He noticed that when a child is separated from their primary caregiver, they don't just get sad. They go through a specific, painful process. First, they protest. They scream, cry, and kick, trying to force the parent to come back. If that doesn't work, they fall into despair. They become quiet and hopeless. Finally, they reach a state of detachment. They stop caring. They go cold. One group of children in his study stood out the most. He called them the affectionless group. These kids seemed like they had no feelings for others. They didn't feel guilty when they stole, and they didn't seem to care if they hurt someone. Bowlby discovered that almost all of these children had been separated from their mothers for a long time during their critical period, the first few years of life. His conclusion was revolutionary. Human beings do not just need food, water, and shelter to survive. We have a biological, bone-deep need for emotional connection. Without a secure base, our brains cannot develop the ability to feel safe or to love others properly. This was the birth of attachment theory. It wasn't about being spoiled or soft. It was about a biological system designed to keep us alive. The biobehavioral system, your internal engine. To understand why Sarah paces her apartment while Leo sleeps, we have to look at what Bowlby discovered about our wiring. We all have what scientists call a biobehavioral system. Think of this as an engine that runs inside you. Its only job is to monitor how close you are to the people you love. In the wild, a baby animal that wanders too far from its mother is in big trouble. A wolf or a hawk might find it. Because of this, nature built a system into the brain to make sure the baby stays close. This system has three main parts that work together like a machine. The monitor. This is your brain constantly scanning the room or your phone to ask, is my person here? Are they okay with me? Am I safe? The smoke alarm. If the monitor senses that the person is gone or cold, it triggers the amygdala. This is a tiny part of your brain that handles fear. It sends out a shot of adrenaline. It makes your heart beat fast. It makes your chest feel tight. This is the alarm telling you that you are in danger of being abandoned. Proximity seeking. Once the alarm goes off, your body is forced to do something to fix it. You start proximity seeking. In a baby, this looks like crying or reaching out. In an adult like Sarah, it looks like checking a phone 37 times or sending a, "Why aren't you answering?" text. This system is not a choice. It is a reflex, like pulling your hand away from a hot stove. When you have an anxious attachment style, your smoke alarm is set to a very high sensitivity. It goes off even when there isn't a real fire. A late text feels like a life or death emergency because, to your ancient brain, being left alone is a life or death emergency. A drawing in the hallway. Maya Vance didn't know anything about John Bowlby or biobehavioral systems when she was 7 years old. She just knew that she had worked very hard on a drawing of a butterfly. She had used every crayon in the box, blending the blues into the purples. She felt a surge of pride as she ran down the hallway of her Chicago home to find her mother. Maya's mother was a brilliant woman, but she was always busy. She was a high-level manager who brought her work home in heavy leather bags. As Maya reached the doorway of the kitchen, she saw her mother sitting at the table, surrounded by papers, a phone pressed to her ear. "Mom? Look," Maya chirped, holding up the butterfly. Her mother didn't look up. She held up a finger, signaling for Maya to be quiet. She continued talking about quarterly reports and deadlines. Maya stood there, the paper fluttering in her small hands. She waited. 1 minute. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. The pride she felt began to leak out of her, replaced by a cold, hollow feeling in her stomach. Finally, her mother hung up the phone. She glanced at the drawing for half a second. "That's nice, Maya. Go put it on the counter. I have another call in a minute." In that moment, Maya's smoke alarm didn't scream, it just hummed. She didn't cry or throw a tantrum. Instead, she learned a lesson that would follow her for 30 years. If I want to be seen, I have to be perfect. If I am quiet and helpful, maybe she will stay. She didn't realize it then, but Maya was building her internal working model. She was deciding that love was something you had to earn through performance. This is how the anxious attachment style often begins. It isn't always a big tragedy like the war-torn London orphans. Sometimes it is just a series of small moments where a child reaches out and finds nothing. The smoke alarm learns that it has to be loud and constant because safety is never guaranteed. The invisible string of co-regulation. One of the most amazing things Bowlby and later scientists discovered is that our nervous systems are not meant to work alone. We are co-regulating creatures. This means that we use the presence of others to calm our own bodies down. Think about a high-stress environment, like an operating room in a hospital. In one study, researchers looked at how surgeons and nurses reacted to stress during a difficult surgery. They found something fascinating. If the lead surgeon was calm and communicated clearly, the heart rates of everyone in the room stayed lower. Even if the surgery got dangerous, the team stayed steady. But if the surgeon was dismissive or anxious, everyone's nervous system started to misfire. This is co-regulation in action. We are like instruments in an orchestra. If the violin next to us is playing a frantic, screeching note, it is very hard for us to play a calm, steady one. For someone with an anxious attachment style, they are often looking for a conductor to help them find their note. They feel like they cannot calm their own smoke alarm without hearing the voice of their partner. This is why ghosting, the modern act of someone disappearing without a word, is so physically painful. It isn't just a rude thing to do. It is a biological attack. It cuts the invisible string of co-regulation and leaves the anxious person's nervous system spinning in a void. Without a safe haven to turn to, the brain stays in a state of high alert, unable to find the off switch for the alarm. The lesson of the mammals. We aren't the only ones who do this. If you look at almost any mammal, from kittens to elephants, you will see proximity seeking in action. A puppy will whine if it is put behind a gate. A baby monkey will cling to its mother's fur even if the mother is being cold. Biologists have found that this behavior is hardwired because it works. In the history of our species, the clingy babies were the ones who survived. The ones who didn't care if their parents wandered off were the ones who got lost or eaten. If you feel needy or anxious today, it is important to realize that you are carrying the survival tools of your ancestors. Your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is trying to keep you alive by keeping you connected. The problem is that we no longer live on the savannah, where lions are hiding in the grass. We live in a world of text messages, dating apps, and busy work schedules. Our ancient smoke alarm hasn't updated its software. It treats a read receipt with no reply the same way it would treat being left alone in the woods at night. The turning point, insight. The first step to healing is realizing that your anxiety is not a character flaw. It is a biological response. When Sarah was pacing her apartment, she wasn't being dramatic. Her brain had detected a threat to connection, and it had triggered her survival system. If Sarah knew what John Bowlby knew, she might have been able to look at her phone and say, "My smoke alarm is going off right now. My heart is beating fast because my brain thinks I'm in danger. But I am actually safe in my apartment. I am an adult, and I can take care of myself even if this person doesn't call." This is the shift from being lost in the feeling to observing the system. Once you name the smoke alarm, it starts to lose some of its power over you. You begin to see that your clinging isn't because you are weak, but because you have a very powerful biobehavioral system that is trying to protect you. The hope of the open script. John Bowlby spent the last years of his life on the Isle of Skye in Scotland. He was an old man by then, but he never stopped thinking about how we bond. Some of his critics said that if a child didn't get what they needed in those first few years, they were ruined forever. They thought the internal working model was locked in stone. Bowlby disagreed. He believed that while our scripts are written early, they are open to update. He saw that when people found secure partners later in life, or when they did the hard work of understanding their own history, their brains could actually change. He called this earned security. This means that even if you grew up like Maya, waiting in a hallway with a drawing that no one looked at, you are not stuck. Your brain is plastic, it can grow new paths. You can learn to be your own secure base. You can learn to fan the smoke away from the alarm so you can see clearly. A new kind of power. Empowerment doesn't